And I was just fascinated by what had me go into the ring as a professional boxer prepared to die. So I'm training for the fight, and I remember I getting punched in the head in sparring, and it just didn't feel right. If I could go back in time, I would have told somebody, and I wouldn't have had my first defence when I did.
Hello and welcome to Make It Happen with Will Polston. I'm Will Polston. This is episode number 154, and in this episode I'm joined by Billy Schwer. Billy Schwer is a former British, Commonwealth, European and World Boxing Champion who's now a personal performance coach and professional speaker. Billy is a certified master NLP coach, certified master practitioner of timeline therapy and a certified master practitioner of hypnotherapy. Billy has acquired over 10 years of experience in the study of ontology, the study of the art and science of being. In addition to this, Billy incorporates 23 years worth of boxing experience. Boxing is a great metaphor for life, alongside his academic studies, and is highly experienced in the world of personal growth and change. In this episode, we're going to be talking about passion, power, and purpose. So Billy, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. It's great to be with you all. Let's get it on, as they say in the fight game.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's get ready to rumble. So let's maybe start with that then. So most people will know of you. In fact, I think you are. I'm just trying to think of all the guests that we've had. Are you? I think you are our first ever champion boxer that we've ever had on the show. I was trying to think, have we had any other boxers? I don't think we have. But I don't think we have. But really excited to have you in. So let's start with the boxing days, because a lot of people know you from your boxing days. Obviously, we'll get into a lot more about what you do in a moment or so. But let's go back to the boxing days. So let's take us back to way back when, and I suppose how a lot of people know of you from boxing.
Okay, but can we start off by I want to ask the listeners a question, and that question is: would you like to win more often? Would you like to experience more success? Would you like to be able to punch above your weight in all that you do? Would you like to experience life as a 10 out of 10, right? So win or lose, you choose. So how you choose to listen to this conversation will have you win more often and experience more success. So the listener, I want you to tune in with how you're listening. And that's how I want to start it off, Will. So as we're tuned in, so me as a boxer goes way, way back to when I was 5 years of age, because the question I get often is, why did you become a boxer? How did all that come about? And then people think, oh, well, my dad was a boxer. So they naturally think, well, that's the reason why you become a boxer. And it was to a degree. But what happened before that? I got bullied as a 5-year-old by my two sisters, Mandy and Lisa. So I'm 5 years of age. Lisa's 8 and Mandy is 11. And I remember so clearly, we're in my mum and dad's front room. We're rolling around the floor and they're beating me up again. Now, what they used to do, they used to pin me to the floor. 2 against 1. What do you do as kids? One's sit on my chest and one's got my arms pinned back. And I'm kicking and screaming. And I just couldn't fight them off. And I can remember it so clearly. It was in that moment. That moment I was crying. I couldn't breathe. I was hyperventilating, because what they did was, as I'm lying on the floor, they used to wave their beautiful blonde hair in my face. So I got this hair going over my face, and I'm kicking, and I couldn't fight. And I make a decision. I'm crying my eyes out. I decided that no one was ever going to beat me, dominate me, hurt me, or get on top of me ever again, especially women. So in that moment, I decided that I was weak. Now, after my retirement from boxing, I've been on a journey for over 20 years, just transformational journey, looking at why we end up the way we end up, why we do what we do. And I was just fascinated by what had me go into the ring as a professional boxer prepared to die. I used to step up in there and it was like the bell would go and it'd be like, let's get it on. And I was that committed. But when all that finished, I was like, where did that come from? Hey, that's not normal. Because I know fighters who don't have that. Some do, some don't. Some fighters are more successful than others. So what is that? And that's the mind game, the mental game of boxing. So that's how my boxing career started before it started. So my dad took me down the gym when I was 8 years of age, and he started to teach me how to box. So I'd had this incident as a 5-year-old. So I'm kind of trying to find a way to prove something. I'm trying to prove I'm not weak. Dad takes me down the gym, and there is no better way for somebody to prove they're not weak than fighting. So I'm 8 years of age. I start boxing, and I'm good. I'm good. I had my first contest at 11. I got off to a great start, but then I become a national champion at 13, 14. And it was like, so my identity was being created through those early years. And as a 5-year-old, I decided I'm weak. So I'm trying to prove I'm not weak. As an 11-year-old, I had my third amateur boxing fight. I lose on points. A moment I remember really clearly. I'm in the ring, awaiting the decision. They put the other kid's hand up, and I'm devastated. I'm in floods of tears, devastated. I make another decision. I'm not good enough. So in my little mind as an 11-year-old, I'm weak and I'm not good enough, which evolved into I'm not enough. I'm not enough. That was later. So I'm weak and I'm not good enough. So I've got something to prove, and So I go at it, and I become a national champion 13. Then I won again 14. So I've been competing at the very, very top for 40 years. And then I boxed for England. I traveled around the world, had a great amateur career, won championships, got a great, it's amazing. And at the age of 21, I decided to turn pro. So I became a professional boxer with Mickey Duff. My dad was in my corner. I had a great boxing trainer by the name of Jack Lindsay, who I used to call Gentleman Jack. He's just a beautiful man. He was teaching me the art and science of boxing. And I had a great team in my corner. So I had a great start to my boxing career. I was undefeated, and I challenged for the British and Commonwealth Championships at the Royal Albert Hall. I won that championships. It was like I was off and running. I was 23 years of age. I was flying. My first defense, I got cut, lost in my first defense. Then I regained it in a rematch. So the roller coaster ride of being a professional boxer was underway. British Commonwealth Championships, winning, losing, great team, great management. I got a shot at the world title in Las Vegas. I'm 25 years of age. I am top of the bill at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Unbelievable. Las Vegas, right? Well, the fight capital of the world. I remember standing outside Las Vegas, the MGM Grand, and I looked up in the air. There's a big display unit, and my name was flashing in lights. Billy Schwer, Luton, like Luton Town. Now, if you're aware of my hometown of Luton Town, it can be a little rough around the edges. So this was a big deal. This was a big deal. So I was boxing a real tough guy called Rafael Ruelas, and the fight started. I was so certain I was going to win. I even had a bet on myself. And about 3 rounds in, bang, disaster struck. I got a big cut over my eye, blood everywhere. Luckily for me, I had the best cuts man in the world in my corner, Denny Mancini. He patched me up. So I go back out for the next round, the round after. Bang, disaster struck again. I got another cut over the other eye. It turned into a bloodbath. And the referee comes back to my corner after the 7th round. He looked at me. He's a little referee by the names of Mills Lane. He said, "Kid, I'm going to give you one more round." And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, shit, blood everywhere, bashed up. Because what it meant was you got to go and knock him out this next round. If you don't knock him out, we're going to stop the fight. So the bell goes, and that was my best round. I gave it everything. I didn't knock him out, so they stopped the fight. So my dream had been shattered in my first attempt at the World Championship. And I remember after that fight, waiting for the plastic surgeon to stitch me. I had 70 stitches. And I was sitting there thinking, maybe there's easier ways I could make a living. I had a broken nose, blood everywhere. My body's in agony. Maybe I should get a proper job or something. But yeah, that's another thing. That's another story for another time. I've never had a job in my life, a proper job. I have a dream. That's what I have. So I come back from Vegas, heal up. Now, because I challenged for the World Championships, I'm now ranked number 1 in Europe. I've been a British Commonwealth champion, challenged for the world title. I'm now ranked number 1 in Europe. I go to Spain and I challenge and I win the European title in Zaragoza, northern Spain, in an epic contest. It was voted European title fight of the year. It was an absolute battle. I knocked him out in the 10th round, bring the title back home, defend it 3 times in the UK, which moved me back up the world ranking. So I'm now ranked number 1 in the world, and I get a shot at the WBC title. Boxing a guy called Stevie Johnson. Man, he's the best in the world. The fight starts and he is brilliant. He is so quick. I just can't catch him. Can't catch him. I've got another cut over the bridge of my nose, which was okay. There's blood everywhere. It goes the full 12 rounds, and I'm standing there awaiting the decision. Now, those last few minutes, they feel like hours as the judges are adding the scorecards up. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner is Stevie Johnson. So I'd lost again in my 2nd attempt. But there was a lot of controversy after this fight because he failed the drug test. He failed the drug test. It's like, no wonder I couldn't catch him. He was so quick. But he got away with it on a technicality. He went back to America with his world title belt. I went back to Luton with more stitches in my face. So I'd failed twice. So not giving up. That's one of my traits. The winning traits of the world class is never to give up. You got to fight for what you want. So 2 failed attempts. I go back to the drawing board. I had to wait a year because there was some contractual stuff going on. So I had to sit in the sidelines for 12 months. But then I got another shot at the world title. My 3rd attempt, boxing Colin Dunn at the Wembley Conference Centre this time. I was so certain I was going to win this one as well. Great start to the fight. It was going beautifully, but then he fought his way back into it. The second half become really close. It goes the distance. Again, I'm waiting in the center of the ring for the decision. Now, the referee grabs hold of my wrist. I can feel he's tightening his grip up, and I'm thinking, this is it. He's going to lift my arm up. This is it. At last, ladies and gentlemen, the winner is Colin Dunn. They put his hand up. I'd lost on a split decision. Could have went either way. It's like, the question is, do you ever feel like giving up? That's the question. Because it's not always easy to not want to give up. So I've been the British, the Commonwealth, the European champion. I've had 3 attempts at the world title. And it was eluding me. It was like, was it possible? Was it possible? So then I sat down with myself, and I remember thinking about, okay, what do I need to do differently? Maybe I need to make some changes. What do I need to do? Now, the change that I needed to make at that time was to move up a weight, because I've been making the same weight for the last 10 years, and it was killing me. So I don't know if us boxers, like jockeys, we're always dieted, having to make a certain weight. And eventually I was growing as a man, but maintaining the same weight, and I was developing. And it was tough. So looking back upon reflection, I would have moved up a weight a lot sooner. So anyway, I move up a weight. Now the next weight category is only 5 pounds heavier. It doesn't sound a lot, £5, but sometimes in life it's the little things that make a big difference, right? So I move up 5 pound heavier, 10 stone, light welterweight. My 4th attempt at the world title, boxing a guy called Newton Villarreal from Colombia. And I can remember we met at the weigh-in. Now, he didn't speak any English. I didn't speak any Spanish. We shook hands, and it was like my 4th attempt. Now, the bell went, the fight starts. Now, that bell, I've heard that bell 1,000 times. It was like, okay, the battle commenced. And I had the dream start. You couldn't have had it any better. In round number 2, I hit him with a right hand. Boom. And he goes over, he hits the canvas, and I'm thinking, I've done it. I've done it. I've done it. And I hit him so perfect and so hard, it connected just right. And it went, I thought to myself, if he gets up from there, I'm going home, because there's no way he should be getting up from that. It was perfect. He got up, didn't he? He got up and we battled. So it went the full 12 rounds. And I remember coming out, the referee summoned us to the center of the ring to await the decision. And my career flashed before me. I went back to when I was a kid of 11, having my first contest. And then here I am 20 years later, 2 decades later, in this place that I'm comfortable in, the most uncomfortable of places, in the boxing ring. And I'm kind of waiting again for that decision. And eventually I get to hear the words I've been waiting all my life to hear. And the new IBO light welterweight champion of the world, Billy Schwer. And that's the belt there behind me. And it was just incredible to have accomplished something. Now, upon reflection, it's like looking back on it, it's like it was such an amazing experience. And it was took a long time to finally get to that, to win the championships. But what happened was after I went back to the change rooms, I took a big punch around the back of the head in the last round. So I was kind of in a bit of a haze and I didn't feel right. So we've organised an after-fight party in Luton. So all the fans were all going back to this nightclub in Luton, and I'm in the car, and I don't feel right. So I start to feel sick. So my wife at the time said, "Pull the car over." My mum and dad were in the car behind. I got out of the car, and I was violently sick. So the alarm bells rang because fighters get damaged from. They may leave the ring in good condition, but something can happen an hour, 2 hours later. And a lot of fighters, they get damaged during that time. And it's how quickly you can get treated. So the alarm bells rang. So luckily for me, we were just literally 5 minutes from a hospital, the Luton and Dunstable Hospital of my hometown. So literally went straight to hospital, missed the party. Everyone's going, "Where's Billy? Where's Billy?" Everyone's getting really pissed without me. And they're all going, "Where is he?" And I'm in hospital. So I was stuck in hospital for 2 days. So I came out, luckily enough, it was just concussion. So they released me. I went out and I went on a holiday, and that was that journey. And there's lots more journeys after that. But that was that night, and because life doesn't always go according to plan, does it? I mean, do you ever notice that? It's just the way that it is.
Yeah, it's. I think well, to use a very apt saying, it was Mike Tyson that said, "Right, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face," and that was the situation for you. So, a couple of questions in relation to that situation. Well, first of all, again, massive congratulations and testimony to your resilience and your focus and determination on being able to get there in the end.
Thank you.
When you were going through those, let's call them the setbacks, fight with the world titles, number 1, number 2, number 3, was there ever a point where you thought, no, this ain't gonna happen? Or was it consistently, no, did you have 100% unwavering belief, or was there ever times when you had doubts?
I was unwavering belief, because I knew in my heart, I didn't ever think I was the best in the world, but I knew I could have it with anybody. Anyone in the world I was willing to go toe-to-toe with. So I knew I had a chance. Now, on the night, things change, things shift, but I prepared. I just gave it everything all the time. So, and I was fortunate enough to have a great team of people with me. I learned my lessons, and I was actively pursuing the dream. And that's what happened. That's what allowed me to keep going. I had just that undying belief, that burning desire to succeed. But underneath all that, as I mentioned earlier, there was an unconscious driver. I had something to prove to myself and to the world, that I was enough. I was good enough. I wasn't weak. So I didn't know that at the time. And that was a huge part of what's driving me. So that as I share my story, I hope the listener is going into their life and considering what's driving them. What's the unconscious things that have you be the way that you are? What has you succeed? What has you fail? Are we repeating patterns over and over again and not getting the results that we want? It's just places to look at.
So on that note then, so you said you obviously had the 2 incidences. I think it was at 5 and 11, I think was the second one that you said. So with the situation we said, so it was I'm not good enough that evolved into I'm not enough. And and what was the first one at 5? I need weak. To be I'm weak. Yeah, so I'm weak and I'm not good enough. that evolved into becoming I'm Not Enough.
Yeah.
When you achieved that major feat, because at this point, I believe I'm right in saying that's all unconscious. So when you won the world title on the fourth attempt, all of that was unconscious. You wasn't aware that was your driver.
Yeah.
You win the title.
Yeah.
How long did it take for that high to fall off and you find yourself saying, I'm not good enough again?
Right. This is the real story. This is the extra story. So I go on holiday after winning the world champions. I'm released from the hospital, go away, come back, and me being me, right? Just greedy, reckless, a bit mindless. I'm in a hurry, impatient. I organised my next fight, my first defence, only 3 months later. So I'm training for the fight, and I remember I getting punched in the head in sparring, and it just didn't feel right. But me being me, didn't tell anyone. Which, if I could go back in time, I would have told somebody, and I wouldn't have had that my first defense when I did. So I go ahead with the fight. I get knocked out. I get knocked out in a real tough fight. It could have, again, could have went either way, but at the 11th round, I got knocked out, and that was it. So then I was carried out of the ring on a stretcher. I was put in the back of the ambulance. So sirens are blaring. We're dodging through the traffic. We're on our way to the Royal Free Hospital in London, and I was conscious, but I was frightened because I know guys who've been killed. I know guys that have been brain damaged. So professional boxing it's a beautiful, brutal business. And it was in that moment, in the back of that ambulance, that I realized that my life as I know it was over. And that was when I made the toughest decision I've ever made, to retire from boxing. So life-changing decisions, they're not easy. They're tough. Now, most of us probably will have made some, but if you haven't, you will at some point. So then when that happened, my world imploded. I went through an identity crisis. Who am I? What am I doing? I've been Billy the Boxer from a kid of 8 years of age. And then I'm starting to question, what's it all about? What's the meaning of it all? What's the point? Why am I doing it all? And it was those questions. I was kind of like having a midlife crisis very early. And it was kind of, that was the time that I started to unravel, and I was depressed. I mentally broke down. I wrecked my marriage, which ended up in divorce. I was on my way to becoming bankrupt. I got caught in a 2008, the financial crisis. I had too much borrowing. I had a couple of properties repossessed. My home was repossessed. I had no money. I had no future. I couldn't see a future for myself outside the boxing ring. I went bankrupt. I lost everything. So I crashed and burned. And here's the thing, that I felt like a complete failure, because where I was now, where I had been, and then I'd losing my title in my first defense, I didn't feel enough then. I wasn't good enough. The story that I started to form, I'm not enough. I'm not. Look what you've done. Look how you've ended up. You've wrecked your marriage. Look at you. You're a failure. I felt like a failure. I kind of hit rock bottom, and I really suffered. I had a real tough time. And it ended up in having suicidal thoughts. It was like I hit rock bottom. And it was that time that I realized that for some of us to wake up, we need a wake-up call. And I got mine. So the suicide stuff is why I volunteer for the Samaritans now. I'm a volunteer. So I'm talking with people in crisis every week. And the suicide conversation is out there so much. So I've experienced it to a degree. And it's like, so I work with those guys. And there was a point that I realized that I need to change, because what I'm doing is not working for myself. But here's the thing that I got. What had Billy the Boxer be a world champion was now having Billy fail. Being aggressive, domineering, selfish, inconsiderate, always being right, rah, rah, rah. Now that worked perfectly in the boxing arena, but just didn't work in my life, especially my marriage. Ask my ex-wife, she'll tell you. I just didn't know how to be any other way than Billy the Boxer. So I went on a journey of self-discovery. I wanted to develop, reinvent, and recreate myself. Now, it's over 20 years ago now that I retired, and mental health just wasn't openly discussed as it is today. And I was embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I felt embarrassed. I didn't know how to ask for help, because asking for help as a fighter, that's a weakness. So I was ashamed that I was being weak. I was failing, but I didn't know what to, I couldn't ask for any help. So I kind of failed, and I kind of figured, I just went through it my own way, and until a point where all right, okay, I need to get myself a coach. So I got myself a coach, and then things started to shift for me. I've done loads and loads of work. For the last 20 years, I've been in this world that you're in, Will. I love learning, like you've mentioned. I love it. I've done so many different modalities of all types of things, from plant-based medicine to transformational work. I meditate, I do breath work, I exercise, I do everything. And that's what had me become a world champion, with that mindset. And it was all during that time that I put the two words together, mental and boxing. I was having a mental boxing match with a voice in my head. When I was going through my tough time, my depressive episode, I was just contradicting my voice in my head. Can I? Can't I? Who are you? What are you doing? What's it about? What will they think of you? Will you get it wrong? Will you fail again? It was just constant. And that's when I put them together. I was just mentally boxing myself. And it was just getting a coach, doing the work. Now, we all know that athletes have coaches, business people have coaches. Now, we need a coach for our lives sometimes. And if you look back, and if you just think about the people that we've lost, Amy Winehouse, George Michael, Robin Williams, Whitney Houston, I could read a list of people who it just occurs like they couldn't manage themselves in their lives. And I was the same. But I just went to work on myself. I pulled back all the layers of my identity to discover who I truly was. And it wasn't pretty. It was tough. It was tough. And it wasn't an overnight transformation. It was like a roller coaster. Again, I was transforming myself, breaking through old patterns. And then I was reverting back to normal. And it's just, man, it was tough. And it was tough. But that's the work that I'm doing now. That's what I love doing. And for my own self, for my own sanity, I'm in the work every day. And that's what has me experience life as a 10 out of 10. I'm living it. I'm breathing it. I am it. And it's available for others. Yeah. So whoever's listening to this, if you just think about, where are you at right now on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being bang, knocked out on the canvas, 10 feeling like the champion of the world. Just give yourself a number. Where are you? And then wherever you're at is okay. It's really okay. It's great to know where you're at, because you know what? You can move forward.
So I've got a question that I think could be maybe useful for some people. So I completely get the I'm not good enough element of what you had, but there's argument for, if you didn't have that, would you have had the drive and the grit to keep pushing in the way that you did? So knowing everything that you know now, all of the work you've done over 20 years are in and around personal development, personal transformation, self-mastery, all of that work, if you could go back, which I know you can't, but if you could go back and tell your younger self something, so you had that unconscious inner dialogue that still meant that you strove to become world champion, but wasn't from a place of trying to prove your worth, what would that be?
Be patient. Have patience. And that's what I've learned. I was always in a hurry trying to get somewhere, and thinking, driven by trying to prove something, an ego, thinking that if I get over there, once I get there, then I'm gonna feel better. Knowing that now, and winning the world champions was the same thing. Once I win the world title, then it's all going to be great. But it ain't. But it's not. It's not.
I call it when-then syndrome. You know, when I achieve this, then I'll have that. When I achieve this, then I'll be happy. When I achieve that, then I'll be complete. And it's a vicious circle that is destructive for people, because even the people, and it's actually interesting, it's a lot of the people that achieve, the high achievers, that I mean, I refer to them as the short-term goals. You set the short-term goal, whatever that might be, no matter how grand it might be, winning the world championship, is you get there and then it's all of a sudden everything's downhill. Whereas by changing the perspective completely, and again, I've got my own sort of philosophy on it, it completely alters the game with how you work in that. So yeah, be patient, which is interesting. So my view on it is I talk about North Star thinking, which is this idea of having a goal in life that's so big you never achieve it. Yeah. Well, the benefit of that is there's no need to be patient because you're never going to get there. Almost he's completely taken winning to a degree off the table, except for the fact that winning every day is the process. So it's you're in your trade. So it's an interesting, similar but different. But very, very, very interesting.
And like you say, the North Star, the beyond creating whatever that is. And another way of looking at what we're talking about is the goal beyond the goal. It's like, what's next? What's beyond the thing that you think you want?
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some people, and like you said, mental health these days it's a lot more, it's spoken a lot more, people are a lot more open about it. It's acknowledged as a thing, which sort of many years ago it wasn't. So what would you say that there are, if there was some sort of maybe 1 to 3 key things that people could do that are part of your mental boxing philosophy that could make a difference to them, either getting out of the challenging times if they're going through so they're experiencing feelings of depression at the moment, or they're not actually experiencing feelings of depression, but they're on the way up, striving for that equivalent of the world championship or whatever it is at the moment. What are there some 3 key things that they could do to start implementing from today, from listening to this?
I think the first thing would be just to acknowledge where you're at, like 0 to 10 as an example. Now, whether you're right down the bottom end or at the top end, it's just acknowledging where you're at today and then being present to what it is that you're looking for, where you're going, and just really maybe sit down and consider and look at maybe it might take to maybe working with you, Will, to sit down with you and just have a look where you're at today. What are you doing? What is your North Star? What games you're playing? Where you're at? And then you establish then that'll bring a bit of peace. And then just be aware of, what is it that I am trying to attain? What am I looking to get? And I realized that myself was things being driven by the ego, having the car on the drive, lifestyle, the house. That might be driving people, and it's okay to want those things. But what I realize is it's okay to want things, but wanting, the ego wants to want more than it wants to have. It's just non-stop. And once you get that thing that you think you want, you're just going to want something else. So in realizing that, I go, that gives me a bit of peace then, because I know I'm just going to want something all the time. Just keep wanting. So just being present, being aware of, being mindful. And meditation for me has really helped me. Now, I know a lot of people struggle with meditation, but just have a go. And it's like, it takes time and it's over time. But it's that. So I would incorporate exercise, just self-care. Here's a big one: lifestyle, self-care. Look after yourself, number 1, because you are it. You are the one that you've been waiting for. There ain't no one else coming to save you. The cavalry's not coming. This is it. And you are the creator. You are the designer of your life and your future. And I would really get people to really consider what is the future that they're living into, because that's going to have them feel a certain way in the present moment. When I was living into an abyss of darkness, depression, I had no future. That's what I was living into. That's why I felt depressed. And it wasn't until I started to just unravel things and life started to occur different, because it's all in how things occur. Now, if that thing that you want, if that occurs like impossible, then it's going to have you feel a certain way. Now, it's like looking after our bodies. If you've got weight to lose, if you're not healthy, it's like just gently start somewhere and start moving towards something. something that you can be responsible for, and start to win every day. And then you win more often, and it's not like instant. It's like over the next week, month, 3 months, 12 months, 3 years, 5 years. It's a lifestyle, and it's having those. It's just being mindful and just being present to and being grateful. Now, I'm very grateful. I'm very lucky, very, very lucky to have come back from where I was and done what I've done. But what I'm really grateful for is that I get the opportunity to create my future, and I'm fully responsible for it. There ain't no one else, and it ain't easy. It ain't easy. My life ain't perfect. I ain't perfect. I still get triggered. I still make mistakes. It ain't easy for me either. I've been training. I went for a run this morning. Did I want to go for a run? No, I didn't. I had to get my ass up and go and make it happen. It ain't easy for me either. And people may assume for others, oh, they've got it easy. No, it's tough. And it's tough. It's just how we frame what we're up to and what we do and make it part of our experience of life. And life's challenging. But you know what you got to do? You got to commit to your dreams. You got to take inspired action. What is your North Star? What is it? Commit to those dreams, take inspired action and make it happen, because it is available. As we move towards the North Star, man, what's gonna show up along the way? And that's how beautiful life is. Life can be beautiful. It can be amazing, and it can be tough. And in the face of it all, who's going to show up every day? And that's it. And what I do is what my life's all about. My life purpose is to inspire and empower people to live a life they love with passion, power, and purpose. And that's what I want people to be left with.
And I completely get it. And from seeing you from afar on social media and whatnot over the years, it's absolutely something that you're doing day to day. So you said those 3 things, but I also want to talk about another. So obviously the passion, power, and purpose of the 3 things that you're working with people on every day. But I believe I'm right in saying there's 2 other ends of the spectrum as well, which is doubt, distraction and disappointment, and then desire, dedication and discipline.
Yes.
They're sort of the polar ends, if you like. So what for people that are experiencing that doubt, the distraction, the disappointment, we've already acknowledged basically checking in with yourself, really, isn't it? You know, seeing where you're at on that scale of 1 to 10, becoming aware first of all, and then start to make that clarity. But what else can they then start doing to then be moving forward with the desire, the discipline, and the dedication to be able to progress and win their own boxing match or mental boxing match that they may be having?
And you're right. So we might be caught up in the negative 3D cycle. If you just imagine an inverted triangle, and at the top you got doubt, distraction, at the bottom got disappointment. So we might be around there. Self-doubt, as I had. Distraction. So when I retired from boxing, drug, sex, rock and roll, that was my distraction. And the impact was devastating. So disappointment was at the bottom. So I was caught up in that negative cycle upon my retirement. And then, so what I realized that what had me be a champion was a triangle again. And on the base of the triangle, you got discipline and dedication, moving towards your desire. Now, discipline is self-discipline daily. Dedication is being dedicated to whatever your desire is longer term. And Napoleon Hill said it so well in Think and Grow Rich. He said, desire is the starting point of all achievement. It's the first principle of success, knowing what you want. So I was clear when I was boxing, world title. That was my burning desire, moving towards that goal. And the journey, as you've heard, it wasn't a straightforward linear journey, as life is not. It's a roller coaster. It ebbs and flows, it's ups and it's down. So that's the positive cycle. That's what had me become a world champion. But then I got caught up in the negative cycle. So wherever you are, and that's what the book is all about. It's about the 3 Ds of doubt, distraction, disappointment, and the positive cycle: discipline, dedication, desire. And that's what that's all about. And it's over 12 rounds. We dismantle what they may be. And it's just focusing on the outcome. What is your desire? What do you want? Because a lot of us know what we don't want, and we end up focusing on what we don't want, right? Well, we know that one. We know what happens when you focus on what you don't want. You get more of it. Where your focus goes, your energy is going to flow. So my story, when I was trying to figure myself out, reinvent myself, I was trying to escape myself as well, because I couldn't be with myself. I didn't like myself. I didn't like myself because I felt a failure, and the damage I'd caused to people and the things that I'd said. I just wish I could unsay things. I wish I could do things different. I can't take it back. I've had to draw a line in the sand, and I've completed the past. Now I've gone back, I've made amends I've done the best that I can to clean up my past and leave the past in the past, because the past was in my future. I kept bumping into it, and I didn't like it. And I didn't like myself, who I was being in my future. So it was only when I started to unravel and reinvent myself that I recreate myself. And I can honestly say now that I love myself. Can you hear the dogs?
I can indeed. Yeah, I can indeed. So you mentioned the book. So for people that are thinking, right, this sounds really interesting, I'd love to learn a little bit more about this. What's the book called, and where can they get access to it?
Yeah, so the book, obviously you can get that wherever you want. There's the audio version. I'm on LinkedIn. I spend most of my time on LinkedIn. I'm social media. I'm not great at social media. I do the best that I can, but LinkedIn is kind of where I do most of my work, and I put most of my stuff out. And I'm just loving what I'm doing. Like I said, I now love. I can say I now love myself. So wherever you're at, listening to this, maybe that's a place to look at. And if you're not in love with yourself in your life, it's a place to look, and it's a place to just to consider what's not working. So then what's not working is here. And that's what I had to confront for myself. I'm not working. Oh, shit. Oh, I'm it then. I'm the one causing all the chaos in my life. I'm the one. I am it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And I got to be fully responsible. So once I took full responsibility for everything, then things start to occur different.
It's that part, isn't it? You know, so many people, they go through life, it's like, oh, but that's not my fault, and that's not my fault. But regardless whether it's your fault or not, it's always your responsibility, because we have the ability to respond to what's going on, any situation, any event, in any given moment. And that's when we truly become empowered, because we have the ability to decide how we're going to respond to the situation, rather than just keep reacting over and over and over again, and it show up like that. So people can get access. I'm really interested, just your opinion, and so let's take two other people that are really sort of quite big in the let's call it the world of combat at the moment. So Conor McGregor and Tyson Fury, right? So Tyson Fury spoken very openly about his mental health. And I don't know if you've watched the documentary on Netflix. I know a lot of people have. And he's having these challenges, these depressive episodes. And then you've got Conor McGregor right now. Again, I'm only observing from afar. He's got his new alcohol brand, and it appears that he's, let's say, enjoying that at the moment. But if there was some words of wisdom you could give to whether it be those two or other professional athletes at the top of their game that have either sort of finished at the top and sort of don't want to end up on that slippery slope down, what would you say to them?
The pain's coming. The pain's coming, and they're probably in pain already. And fleetingly, their experience, and then say, let's use Conor McGregor as an example. The ego is presenting itself under the guise of he's doing business and whatever you want to call it. And then he's got to go home at night and put his head down and deal with himself. Because fighting finishes. You can't physically fight forever. It runs out. And it's letting go of that, which is very difficult, because we're so attached to that identity, and that's who we are. And it took 10 or so years for me to kind of start to shed that. And you can see it in action. I can see it, and there's pain and suffering coming, and there is already. And so that is Tyson Fury. You mentioned the Netflix program. I've watched some of it, and again, the pain. He's in pain, and there's pain coming, and he does have respites from the pain if he's preparing for a fight. But at some point, he's going to finish boxing, and then he's got to deal with himself.
Yeah, and that for me, so you've already touched on, you've said it a few times, that you reinvented yourself. Now, in my experience with the work that I've done with clients, I've observed something over the years that's very evident, in that's when anyone loses an identity, right, that creates significant emotional pain. And that can happen in lots of different ways. You know, retiring, if you've had the identity of I'm a boxer your whole life, or I'm a professional boxer, and then you no longer have that identity, that creates pain. If you are a parent and you lose a son or a daughter, then you could be perceived as no longer the son or the daughter. If you're a husband or a wife and you divorce, you're no longer the husband or the wife. So it's that loss of identity that creates that pain. And it's when you recreate that identity, which obviously you've done for yourself in the work that you do now, keynote speaker, motivational speaker, coach, all these different things, that's when you find that. And that's maybe where, I mean, I've had my own, to the point where I said to a friend of mine, that I actually wanted to go and sit outside Tyson's Fury house when I saw him going for a run, and go for a run, and tell the guy, if you recreated a new version of you, you wouldn't need to be the constant going out, running, going out and having the fight and all the rest all the time, because he's been so caught with that. But that reinvention element. So,
and they wouldn't listen. They wouldn't listen. You couldn't tell them anything. So when I was going through that, if I would have told myself that, you got to be ready.
Yeah.
And for me, as a fighter, fighters don't think normal. Boxing, they're not normal. They don't think straight. I don't think straight. They're not normal. So then we might have to reach crisis point for us to go, oh shit, let's have a look at things differently. Because whether you're willing, and that's what has fighters, athletes succeed, because they've got an arrogance, ego driven. That's what has them succeed, but it will have them fail in their own personal lives. Maybe not everybody, but the ones that you're talking about, you can see it, that there's going to be a crash at some point. And it's, what scale of crash is it? And that's the bit to look at. And it's trying to, can you preempt and trying to make the crash a little bit easier? If they're willing to listen, I'm sure that maybe would they be open, but they feel that they're not ready, or they're doing okay as they are. Maybe.
Yeah, no, interesting, very interesting. Well, Billy, look, I've really enjoyed our conversation. For people that want to connect with you, you've already mentioned so they can find you on LinkedIn, they can get the book. Now, I believe I'm right in saying that we've got a link that we're going to put in the show notes for the book as well. Absolutely.
So you can go and download the book for free. So I'd love to put that, and I'd love to have more conversations with people.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll put that link in the show notes. So you can head to the show notes now, get a free copy. So thank you, Billy, for gifting that to the listeners so they can go and get a copy of the book. Again, it's been really great speaking with you and learning more about the man that's kind of gone through what you've gone through in the ways that you have. So yeah, thank you very much.
I've had to. The reason for my book, because I know it's a little bit controversial, it's not maybe politically correct, man up. I was a man down. That's why the book's called I Had to Man Up. And that's the reason for it all. I want us all to be the best that we can all be.
There we go. So hopefully there's something you've taken from today to enable you to, it's got you thinking, right, what can I do to sort of get up if you're feeling down, or take a slightly different view? Please come and let us know in the Make It Happen community on Facebook, and let us know what you've taken from this episode, or reach out to Billy and let him know directly. So Billy, thanks again. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Will. I really appreciate it.
And for everyone that's been listening, until next time, make it happen. Thank you for listening to Make It Happen with Will Polston. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please feel free to share it with anybody that you think could benefit from it. And also make sure that you hit subscribe so that you get the new episodes as soon as they're released.